Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Donovan with MKD5A Media. Another short, quick movie review for you guys. And this movie review is for the 1997 sequel to Jurassic Park. I'm talking about The Lost World, all right? Now, The Lost World, seen it for the 10,000th time about a week ago, and decided to do a little review about it. I still enjoyed this movie. This movie to me is a very underrated sequel, and it's a very underrated sequel just in general in terms of all movies. But it's also to me still the very best sequel for the Jurassic Park franchise. Obviously nothing's gonna touch the very first Jurassic Park, but I think The Lost World is the best of the sequels. To me, it was constantly engaging. The adventure elements, I mentioned it in the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom review about, just generally enjoyable adventure elements. The Lost World has that in spades over, Fallen Kingdom and some of the more recent sequels and things like that. Very enjoyable adventure elements. The humor works. Jeff Goldblum returns, and his character has been a little bit changed by the events of the first Jurassic Park, but he still maintains that classic Jeff Goldblum in his prime type, sarcasm and humor and all those elements that we kind of know him for now when he's in top form. He brings that. Julianne Moore, she works as, I think her name is Sarah Harding. She works, that her character is annoying in spots. There's a few characters in this that are annoying in spots, just in terms of boy, if I had to deal with this situation and some of these things, people not listening to what I'm trying to warn them about, I'd be a little bothered. But her actual performance is great. She does well as her character. I want to make sure to talk about, obviously, Richard Attenborough as John Hammond. He's always, his charisma, and he's always just kind of lovable as that character. Even going back to the first Jurassic Park, I was always kind of a fan of John Hammond, even though from my understanding, he's not a likable guy in the books. I haven't read the books, but I've listened to a few audio excerpts, and then obviously just what other people have had to say about the books. He's a little bit of a different character in the books, but in the movies, I'm a fan of John Hammond. But I wanted to really make sure. Now, obviously, Vince Vaughn is in this movie, but he's serviceable. He doesn't really stand out or do anything too spectacular. But I wanted to make sure to mention the guy that played Roland Timbo. I don't want to butcher his last name, but his name is Pete Postlethwaite. I'm pretty sure I butchered his last name, but I really want to make sure he plays Roland Timbo. I really want to make sure to point him out, give him a spotlight, because he was my favorite character in this film. Still, back when I was a kid and I saw this movie, he was the standout character for me. And even now, as an adult, he's still the standout character for me in this film. Just such a great mixture of kind of vibes and elements, and he obviously is a man of some level of honor and some level of heart and duty and things like that. He's not just really out to exploit the situation for financial gain and things like that. So he was a really great standout character in this for me. There's also a scene that's not in the theatrical release that would have been the audience's first introduction to this character, that would have really kind of quickly driven home what kind of man this character was. But that scene actually got cut from the theatrical release, but in some other versions it's in there. And this scene is actually in the beginning of the film. So in the theatrical release, what happens is your first introduction to Roland Timbo is when him and the rest of the engine guys touch down on Site B and start getting busy. So at that point, you might develop a quick bad impression of him just because of the people that he's rolling with. But throughout the movie, he shows little glimpses and displays of what kind of man he actually is, and that he is different than kind of the rest of the engine folks that came in to basically just exploit things. So just really wanted to point out my affinity for that character and Pete's performance in that. But anyway, so the score for this, I want to keep this a short review. I give The Lost World a 7.5 out of 10. There's certain days where I feel like I could go as high as an 8, but an 8 out of 10 is actually a really good score for just about anything in life. 8 out of 10, you can't be too mad at that in any aspect of life. So I didn't want to quite go that high because there are some little things that I might have issue with, and I just I want to leave that wiggle room to kind of, I guess, as I gotta be truthful about it, have a change of opinion, I guess. So I'm going 7.5 out of 10. I think that's a positive score, a good score for a sequel to a classic film. But like I said, I could go as high as 8 depending on the day. You know what I mean? So if you're a fan of the Jurassic Park franchise, well then you already know about this movie, and there's not too much I can tell you about it. But I'll put it like this: if you originally weren't a big fan of The Lost World and kind of like saw it once or a couple times and it was a long time ago, I encourage you to actually go back and rewatch it and see if maybe your opinion has changed a little bit. I can't say that that's happened for me because I've always liked The Lost World. But I just feel like it's a very underrated sequel. Like I back in the day, I saw people kind of giving it a hard time as a follow-up to Jurassic Park, and I felt like it's a pretty good follow-up. I was entertained by The Lost World. Like I said, I remember seeing it in the theater and walking away feeling very satisfied with what I had seen, feeling very entertained. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10 for Jurassic Park, The Lost World. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next go round.